All right, good morning. Welcome to Southwest Flavor. Happy Thursday to everyone. Today we are having an all Tucson High episode, and my first guest is Ronnie Huerta. Welcome.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome to you. Pull your microphone up just a little bit closer.
How about right there?
There you go. All right,
cool.
Perfect. So you're retired from
Probation.
Yeah. Yeah, you spent what, 21, 25 years?
21 years. I did like 15 years with juvenile detention. And then I did the last 6 with adult probation.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier off air that I'm sure that that's something that just kind of it wore on you, throughout the years.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that not everybody sees, right? But it's like an experience, obviously. You know what I mean? Saw a lot, did a lot, and it was just it was a different side of life, I guess.
On the juvenile side, do you have some success stories? Did you see some kids later on that maybe you helped get right? And
when I worked when I switched over to the adult side, I mean, I would see kids come in every now and then that were adults that remembered me, and or if I'm out in the streets or something like that, my first reaction is always going to be like, oh shoot, like is this guy going to try to fight me or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But the opposite is somebody talks to you and they start telling you their life story and how well they're doing, and then you see their family or something like that, kids and their wife, and that's cool, like seeing that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now?
Well, now I'm a full-time realtor. I jumped over and just kind of decided enough was enough, and I'm ready for a new side of life.
Yeah.
And it's been real good for me. I mean, I've been doing it for about 6 years now. And
okay. Wow, that long? Man, time flies.
Oh yeah. I remember when I first saw you and Janae come over, and
we went to your retirement party.
Oh yeah, that too.
I didn't realize it was 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's time flies.
Yeah. Man, so right before COVID then.
Right? It was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you're like a brand new realtor, and then COVID happens, what, a year later maybe?
Yeah. I mean, it actually did real well for me. I mean, after I think it was like the first year I came in, and maybe in July, I think is when I switched over. And then it took me about maybe a couple months to sell my first house or something like that,
Sure.
And then maybe I don't know how much more I sold the rest of that year. And then the next year it was like, wow, what a total change. Not just financially, but just, you're used to the, 8 to 5, or when I was doing shift work, and working weekends and holidays and stuff, to now it's kind of like, you work when you work, when you want. But to be honest with you, I probably put a lot more hours in this than I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that, like you said, a lot of people think that it's just you work when you want to work, but I mean, really, you have to go on your customer's schedule a lot of times. I mean, people are usually off Saturday and Sunday, and that's when they want to look at houses.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, you don't know when you're going to get your next paycheck and stuff, right? But the thing that's cool is, like, you meet somebody and you start building relationships, and I like to talk to them about, what do you do for a living? And then it turns into a conversation. So it's meeting new people and kind of that route, and then also because I was so used to seeing the negative side of life. And then now it's like you're helping somebody, especially like first-time home buyers, like people that like want to achieve the, home ownership, the dream. Right?
Yeah. That's the American dream.
Oh yeah. And so that's probably the most rewarding thing for me, I guess, when I do this. I used to coach football too. When my kids were smaller and stuff. So when I was working at juvie, I was doing that at the same time.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so it's like you see two different things. You see like the kids that are like bad, that just they're very challenging, and they didn't have like this, not every single one of them, right? But I learned a lot too, like, if they did have parents, the father's in jail, or non-existent, the mother's out doing something, whatever, and then the grandparents are raising them or something,
and that happens a lot.
Oh yeah. Or they're like in foster care and they're bounced from place to place to place, So I could kind of see how that can really mess somebody up mentally.
Sure.
And then and then when I started coaching football, of course everybody has the same goal. You want to achieve and win games and things like that. But it was rewarding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, kids need stability and they need boundaries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even if they're pushing against those boundaries, they need them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah, and I used to see that too. It's I think. It's kind of like this, I guess, like when you work in that type of environment, it's like prey versus predators.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of predators. I mean, don't get me wrong, but, they will sniff out like if you are weak, and you're one that gives in to everything, like let them do whatever they want. And the minute you tell them no, it's like they flip the script and now you're kind of like shell shocked. I've seen that so many times,
Okay.
So, I've learned, through that structure, but firm, fair, and consistent.
Right.
And that's kind of the way it was.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard as a parent because most of the time you can't be your kids' friends. You need to be that authoritative figure.
Oh, yeah.
But you get the rewards after it. I mean, because you have a good relationship with your kids, and I have a good relationship with my kids. So now we can be friends with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We can go out and have dinner with them, or have a beer with them, or just talk to them.
Yeah. It's different when your kids are small because you're so used to like you're controlling the ship, right? Like
completely. Yeah.
You do things or whatever. I mean, you not only love them, but you also got to have enough love to discipline them. Is the way I see it. I posted something on Facebook. A couple days ago, I think it was, or maybe it was yesterday, but it was a picture and it kind of said everything like what's going on right now. Like kids are being raised by laptops and phones and things like that, and it's a babysitter, I guess. And, us as Gen Xers, we talk about it, we complain about it, but we're the ones who gave them those devices.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah. We put them in their hands.
Oh yeah. So.
But yeah, when we were kids, we were outside and mostly riding our bikes. I mean, that's pretty much what the neighborhood kids did, in our neighborhood. Is we were out on our bikes and just looking for stuff to do.
Yeah, I go by my grandparents' house. I grew up right there by downtown area. 4th and 22nd, that whole area, and we were out from the time, like in the summertime. After we're done eating breakfast, boom, go out. And my grandma used to say, "Don't get into mischief." And me and my brother, that's the first thing we did.
Yeah. And it wasn't anything bad. Yeah. It was just little.
Some things were bad. You know what I mean? But you don't want to let anybody know about that.
Right?
Yeah. But I think we had a childhood. I mean, because you figure we grew up in an area like we did have. Obviously some kids had Atari and. Yeah. Whatever the games were back then. And, somebody had it, so the kids would flock to that kid's house. Mm-hmm. But you're still wanting to go outside and ride your bike and explore. And, I told you before, like I was a kid, I mean, I was always, I rode everywhere, you know, and if I got thirsty, I'd stop at a business or a park or something like that, drink the water. You didn't have that. You go to somebody's hose and hope they didn't see you, That's how it was.
We did that many times.
Yeah. We didn't have water bottles
or helmets.
Yeah. We didn't use sunscreen. I mean, we were dark.
Right?
Yeah.
So growing up downtown, and then you went to Tucson High, and you're really into sports, and your dad has been a coach for many years, So that probably influenced you going into sports, right?
Yeah, I mean he played when he was in high school, and I think he went to the U of A for a little bit and played a couple years before he hooked up with my mother, but he my brother was into wrestling and stuff, and then I think I was in the 7th grade, I think, when I started. And when I was in elementary, I remember I wanted to play because he'd always watch football and stuff, you know. And, as a kid, we'd play in the streets and all that stuff, obviously. And I was a little bit bigger than a lot of other kids when I was younger, And so got into 7th grade and bigger, stronger than all these other kids. And then in 8th grade, I don't know, I guess I kind of maybe stood out a little bit back then or whatever. And then I got into high school and went to Tucson High, and I think he started helping out with the freshmen back then.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He started helping out with the freshmen, and then probably once I got into my sophomore year, me and another kid, Terry Underwood. You guys, we were watching this. Let me give you props, T-Bone. He was like a little Barry Sanders back then.
Yeah, I remember Terry.
You remember Terry?
Yeah.
Okay, so me and him got moved up our sophomore year, and then we played varsity, and I rode the bench for 4 games, I guess, and I hated it, because I was used to being a starter.
Yeah.
And then we played, after that game, and it was from then on out. And then I remember I got benched my senior year. Got into it with my coach. This is crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
With Mayfield? Was Mayfield still there?
Mayfield, okay. Yeah. I mean, he was something else, and but it kind of taught me a lot. It was an experience that I had, and not too many people knew about that. Now they will, but we actually got into it in the locker room. Terry, I was going to give him a ride home, and he got in my face. We had played at Catalina High School, and I had a horrible game, and he started going off on me in the locker room and stuff, and so he got in my face and asked me if I wanted to hit him, and I'm like, what? And I'd never disrespected a coach in my life, you know, and I was so I was angry, but I'm like, I'm not going to hit this guy. He's a grown man, and I'm 17 years old or something back then, and then after that, he started kind of messing with me and stuff, and I didn't play anymore. I mean, I played, but it was like, I wasn't the starter anymore, and that kind of took its toll, because I was like, man, I don't want to play football anymore. This isn't fun, and so then I was going to sign up for the Marine Corps, because they had the recruiter's office down there, and my grandpa was in the military and stuff, and at that time I get called into the I guess it was a PE building or something, and there was a coach from Kansas, right, a small school in Kansas, and there was a few other guys in there, and at that point, I was like, well, what the heck, I guess I could play, and then when I went over there, it was like totally different, because I can actually do whatever. And back then, I think they ran the run and shoot,
okay.
And so I got to throw the ball a little bit more, you know? And then
which is more fun.
Yeah, know, and but it was cold. It was cold. It was like a sunny day, and you're thinking like, and then it's like -5 degrees.
Oh, really?
Oh, God, it was cold.
Wow. Yeah. As a Tucson kid, you have no experience with that.
Oh, yeah. And what I didn't know is they recruited from Tucson area a lot out in the Midwest,
Okay.
But I did that a year, and then I came back. I just didn't like it, and and then I ran into my best friend Tommy like a couple years later, and he was going to walk up to NEU, and it's funny because back then I got some tape together and so forth, and sent it up to the I guess one of the coaches up there. And I got Ernie Zampese. He used to be a coach with the Cowboys.
Oh, okay. But, I remember the name.
Yeah, he saw the tape, and he's like, oh, you're pretty good. How big are you? When you run the 40 in and this and that. And, I told him, and he's like, yeah, of course I was like, 6 foot maybe, if that. I told him I was 6'1", right? But he's like, oh, you come up here, our shortest quarterback's like 6'4", so you probably ride the man. I'm like, forget that. So me and Tommy get in the car. We drove down to Glendale, and back then, obviously we didn't have the internet or anything, and I didn't know it was like Pima, like that. I'd have nobody up there. Where was I going to live?
Yeah.
So that same day, we drove all the way down to Eastern Arizona Junior College.
Okay.
And I know that the guy over there, I went on like some recruiting trip over there, and so I went over there, and right before I pack all my stuff up, I'm at work, and I'm arm wrestling this guy, and I tore some in my arm,
Oh,
and
man.
I'm like, man, and I didn't realize how messed up it was, and something happened, over there, financial aid, whatever it was, and I I'm done. I came back, and then started working, and then the same guy that was up in Kansas called me up one day, and hey, I'm over here at this school in Iowa. It's called Westmar. It's not even open anymore. They closed it down. Well, I didn't know they were having issues. I don't think he knew neither. So I'm on a plane ride like 2 days later, and this is like springtime, I think it was. And first day I get there, -46 degrees.
Wow.
So I was like, but at that point, I just wanted to get out to Tucson so bad. So I stayed over there, and I loved it. Kind of got my act together. School, all that stuff. Thought I was going to graduate, and actually, I was studying criminal justice. I wanted to be in the FBI. That was my goal. But a year later, school closed down.
Oh, so when you were there, it closed down.
Like that next semester.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up coming back, and then they had some adult league they started up here. I played in that for a couple of years, and then that's when I had my first son. And so at that point, I'm like, I got to get to work. Can't be doing this anymore. You break. I think I dislocated my ankle in like one of the games or something like that. And I remember it's like, I didn't have any insurance or anything like that, so started working and, just becoming a father, and that's kind of like how it started,
Okay. Well, with that, let's take a quick
Sure.
sponsor break. We will be back in just a couple minutes with Southwest Flavor.
In Marana, community isn't just where we live, it's who we are. And at the heart of it all is the Marana Chamber of Commerce. We are building a thriving community through connected business leadership. We start the month bright and early with Marana Mornings, sparking real conversations and connections. We celebrate growing networks at our 4th Tuesday mixers, hosted in exciting spaces. We unite visionaries and leaders at Impact Marana, driving meaningful progress together. We look ahead with Marana Insights, hearing directly from regional voices about what's next for our town. And we serve, through the passion of our board of directors and ambassadors, creating a culture of belonging through service and leadership. Because of our members, we're not just doing more, we're becoming more. Together, we're shaping the future of Marana. We are the Marana Chamber of Commerce.
Looking for a delicious meal or a place to cater your next event? Visit Tucson Tamale Market, located at 7286 North Oracle Road. They're a family-friendly restaurant and market offering authentic tamales and local products. Don't miss out on their summer bi-weekly specials. Try a new $10.99 meal special every couple of weeks. During the summer, enjoy their gift card special. Buy $50 of gift cards for only $40. Stop by and see what's new at Tucson Tamale Market.
Estrella Insurance on Irvington Road will help you with all your insurance needs. If you feel like you have a hard case due to a moving violation, a DUI, a suspended license or a car accident, contact us and come to Estrella Insurance on Irvington Road and get a quote today. Open late hours y hablamos español. Estrella Insurance, an agency you can trust.
It's July and we're celebrating Independence Day all month. Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing wants to buy your old air conditioning unit. For the month of July, we will buy back your old AC unit for $1,776 with the purchase and installation of a new air conditioning system. Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing, keeping you cool all summer long. Call us at 520-492-0748 or picturerockspooling.com.
Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids is an inclusive community empowered and united by the strength of the human-animal bond.
It taught me responsibility. It taught me kindness and social interaction.
We have programs for every member of our community.
I love track because I have 2 daughters. We come out here and get all of our energy out.
Track is my home away from home.
You can make a donation or even become a monthly donor.
Thank you for supporting Track, Tucson's Ranch. We hope to see you here soon.
I've had water and mold damage in my house twice. Both times I freaked out, but I called Steamy Concepts right away. If anyone tries to tell you to use someone else, just say no way and call Steamy today.
About a year ago, we had a flood in our kitchen, and we didn't think to call anyone else but Steamy Concepts. They were very professional, and we really enjoyed working with Steamy Concepts.
Steamy Concepts accepts all homeowners insurance. Call Steamy today or go to steamyconcepts.com.
Welcome back to Southwest Flavor, talking with Ronnie Huerta. So we're talking about playing football, both in high school and collegiate. Mm-hmm. And then what are some of the lessons that you took from that, from all those years of playing team sports?
I kind of carry over into, I don't know, when it comes to like leadership, I know, I don't know, as my dad or my grandpa, somebody said, don't ever be a follower, be a leader, you know? So whatever you do, whether it's, it doesn't work or anything like that, but, you do what you do, you know? And, also like, the question is, you can be like a leader, but questions people will follow you, and that's one thing I learned, like, playing, that position, right? You're like the leader, the quarterback or whatever. Yeah. And, it's just, I look back at those things and, I sound like Uncle Rico, I get that crap all the time from old guys, you know what I mean? But, it's kind of true, man. I mean, like you, even when I was coaching football and stuff, you kind of, I have the tendency to start taking things over, you know what I mean? And I don't know, that's just like who I am, like I see something not right, like I fix it, like I'm a fixer, and so like in the real estate world, it's, I sit back and I listen a lot and I ask a lot of questions, like since I started, and
that's a skill set.
Yeah.
Just listening and finding out what your customer wants.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like even like just, I guess, I don't know what you say, procedure wise or, paperwork documentation and things like that, how to do things the right way so you don't mess things up, right? Because, your name's on there, right? You know, and that's the
they're
thing
all
is,
legal documents too.
Oh, yeah, you know. And I think that's probably like one of the things too. It's like pride in your who you are, pride in your last name, Huerta. When I used to coach kids, what's your last name? They tell me, I'm like, you know what, you have pride in that name. Take some ownership of it. Know, because as you get older, that's only a small part of your life, right?
Right.
It doesn't last forever. So when you get into the workforce, it's like, you want to have that reputation that you did things the right way.
Exactly.
And I think that's where I carry over. I also have like, I've learned this about myself too, and maybe it's the coaching stuff. It's like helping people out, that need help. Like I don't mind, you know what I mean? It's when I started in this business, I learned that there's people that will, help you out and people that won't, shut the door on you. And you're like, okay, don't worry. Don't get hurt about it. Just go to somebody else who is willing to help, and so that's kind of the thing I've learned, in real estate, and I know, like I said, I've only been doing it 6 years, but sometimes like there's so much things that like I've learned in that short period of time. The more deals that you do and so forth, the more families you help out. There's always something that dude, did I do this the right way? And then I'll look in the contract and look it up. Okay, so now I know. So I know how to explain it to somebody. Kind of like dummy it down, I guess you could say, if you will. But
you have that repetition.
Yeah. Repetition.
It's just like going to football practice, It's that you're running the routes or you're throwing, certain routes or whatever. It's just repetition.
Yeah. And also too, it's preparation.
Yeah.
Right? I think, when you prepare somebody or you're preparing yourself for like tomorrow, if I have a client come in from out of state, like I know what I'm going to do first, right? It's like a game plan and I follow it. And I've always done that, throughout life, and being very organized. That way you make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
That's very key. I have a certain way about doing things and not everybody's going to follow. Right. And that's the thing I've learned when I switched over to, being an independent realtor, right. It's kind of like, it's my business. It's how I run my show.
Yeah.
And, you get some people that are new and they're like, well, how do you do this? And I can tell you how I do it, but will you do it that way? No, you're going to do it your own way.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, tell me how, how do I do this? And I'm like, you know what, you don't want to do what I do, man, because you're not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen that so many times, and I've learned a lot too from other people. Like, let me see if I can do this. But the ultimate thing is we are who we are.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm not really like a video guy. I've learned that about myself, or maybe like a picture thing or something like that. But, like when we grew up, you think about it, we didn't have phones. We had Polaroid cameras. We had, there was things like that, and it's like taking a picture of yourself. I remember the first time getting on Facebook and one of my friends, she's like, post a picture. I saw you. And, and I'm like, heck no, I'll never do that.
Right. It was weird for our generation.
Yeah, it was weird. You know? And now it's like everybody's doing like we're on here right now.
Yeah. Right.
And it's a little uncomfortable, but then it's like anything else, you get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the real estate world, it's, I've learned to, it's not a race, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And it's a ride all the way. Cause really you could do this like as long as you're still walking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, can you stay with us for the second half an hour?
Sure.
All right. We will be back in just a couple minutes.
In Marana, community isn't just where we live, it's who we are. And at the heart of it all is the Marana Chamber of Commerce. We are building a thriving community through connected business leadership. We start the month bright and early with Marana Mornings, sparking real conversations and connections. We celebrate growing networks at our 4th Tuesday mixers, hosted in exciting spaces. We unite visionaries and leaders at Impact Marana, driving meaningful progress together. We look ahead with Marana Insights, hearing directly from regional voices about what's next for our town. And we serve, through the passion of our board of directors and ambassadors, creating a culture of belonging through service and leadership. Because of our members, we're not just doing more, we're becoming more. Together, we're shaping the future of Marana. We are the Marana Chamber of Commerce.
Looking for a delicious meal or a place to cater your next event? Visit Tucson Tamale Market, located at 7286 North Oracle Road. They're a family-friendly restaurant and market offering authentic tamales and local products. Don't miss out on their summer bi-weekly specials. Try a new $10.99 meal special every couple of weeks. During the summer, enjoy their gift card special. Buy $50 of gift cards for only $40. Stop by and see what's new at Tucson Tamale Market.
Estrella Insurance on Irvington Road will help you with all your insurance needs. If you feel like you have a hard case due to a moving violation, a DUI, a suspended license or a car accident, contact us and come to Estrella Insurance on Irvington Road and get a quote today. Open late hours y hablamos español. Estrella Insurance, an agency you can trust.
It's July and we're celebrating Independence Day all month. Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing wants to buy your old air conditioning unit. For the month of July, we will buy back your old AC unit for $1,776 with the purchase and installation of a new air conditioning system. Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing, keeping you cool all summer long. Call us at 520-492-0748 or picturerockspooling.com.
Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Therapeutic Ranch for Animals and Kids is an inclusive community empowered and united by the strength of the human-animal bond.
It taught me responsibility. It taught me kindness and social interaction.
We have programs for every member of our community.
I love track because I have 2 daughters. We come out here and get all of our energy out.
Track is my home away from home.
You can make a donation or even become a monthly donor.
Thank you for supporting Track, Tucson's Ranch. We hope to see you here soon.
I've had water and mold damage in my house twice. Both times I freaked out, but I called Steamy Concepts right away. If anyone tries to tell you to use someone else, just say no way and call Steamy today.
About a year ago, we had a flood in our kitchen, and we didn't think to call anyone else but Steamy Concepts. They were very professional, and we really enjoyed working with Steamy Concepts.
Steamy Concepts accepts all homeowners insurance. Call Steamy today or go to steamyconcepts.com.
All right, we are back with Southwest Flavor. Join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. This is an all Tucson High Badger edition, and we are here with Ronnie Huerta and Dr. Jesus Bernal. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's cool to hang out with Ron, too. Ron's a cool freaking dude, man. I love it.
Hey, thanks. I'll pay you later, dude.
No, I mean it. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Well, tell us what you're up to, man.
Oh, man. Let me see. I think the biggest thing right now that I have going on is I have a plan to teach people how to do stretch therapy. So having been a chiropractor for 20 years, that was freaking awesome. I loved it. It was great. I got to help a ton of people. And there was always that fear. Somebody's like, oh, are you going to crack me? Or what if something pops? Is something breaking? And so having gone through a ton of changes, and I'll save all the details because some of them are gory, but having transitioned over to something like stretch therapy is awesome. And what I love about it is that although you do need a certification to do stretch therapy, the disadvantage is that we're not billing insurances and you're not having to go through licenses and renewals. As long as you have your certification, then you're allowed to do stretch therapy, which is awesome. And the fact that I have a doctorate degree and a bachelor's degree in human anatomy and so much freaking experience makes it so that I can teach other people how to do stretch therapy and I can certify people. So that's pretty amazing. And that's the big goal right now. That's actually kind of like weighing me down a little bit because although I'm excited about it, it's a lot of work and it's a whole new venture. And So that's the big deal right now. I'm excited to say that our stretch clinic is doing super well. I love it. It's nice and solid. And one of the things that I was trying to avoid too, which when you do a good job, and both of you guys know this, because if you do a great job with heating and cooling and plumbing or real estate, you're going to get a bunch of people calling you and you're going to stay busy.
Sure.
Which is awesome. But if you're the only one that's doing the heating and cooling and plumbing, then all of a sudden you're like stuck there. Or if you're the only one that's, doing all your transaction coordinating, then you're pretty much stuck there. Whereas if you have a transaction coordinator doing all the things, et cetera, that's awesome, right? So for me, when I was a chiropractor, I literally would be working from like 7 a.m. sometimes to 4 p.m. in Rio Rico, then drive up to Tucson and see clients from 6 p.m. to about 9 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's awesome. I mean, the money was great. I can't deny it. It was wonderful. I got to invest in real estate, so that was a good move on my end. But the challenge was that, and I had a lady just come in 2 days ago. She said, "Oh, I remember we used to wait 3 hours just to get an adjustment from you."
Wow.
And so again, it's flattering but embarrassing because, clearly I should have done better with my systems or done something different. And so what I'd like to do now that it's getting really busy with Mueve Flex, with my stretch clinic, and I'm having to be there all day, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm getting flashbacks, PTSD from all the hard work. So I'm like, well, how can I do this? And I've taught a few people already. And my son, you and I have talked about Fermin. He's become pretty darn well skilled at doing the stretch therapy, helping a ton of people feel better. So then the light bulb went on and I'm like, hey, I got to start teaching other people. And eventually there will be other people to take care of our clients or newer clients or more clients. And I can have the freedom that I have right now.
Right.
Kind of like the Ron Huertas and Ron Arenas.
Yeah. You can work on your business instead of working in your business.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing going on right now. Other than that, there's a few personal exciting things going on. I'd rather not mention those right now because it's going to sound like I'm bragging. But we got some fun coming up too.
Okay. All right. So the stretch clinics and stretch therapy that's fairly new, isn't it?
Absolutely. What happened was, I believe, well, number one, stretch therapy has been around for years. And it was available exclusively for like famous people, like really rich people or elite athletes. Okay. And so during the COVID pandemic, and again, I mentioned earlier there was some gory details. During the COVID pandemic and around that time, not only was it really difficult for people with their health and with whole shutdowns and things like that, it was also very difficult for some people that were going through very hard life lessons, learning how to do contract law whenever you're renting properties and things like that. And I was one of those people that had to learn. And I learned the hard way. So having gone through all those tough lessons and going through changes with my professional career as a chiropractor, I had to make arrangements and make changes so that I could figure out a way to do it. And at the same time, things were starting to open up. People wanted to go back to their usual routines. People were afraid to go to the doctor. People were just wanting to have physical contact.
Yeah. And
there was a few franchises like Stretch Zone or Stretch Lab that started just blowing up. And I happened to go get a stretch session at one of the places here in town, and I was intrigued because I said, wow, this is pretty cool. And to be honest, I was intrigued when I first saw the ad. And because it sounded very much like what I used to do. It said, oh, are you having stiffness and pain? Well, stretch therapy is very effective. It's backed by science and it's a gentle approach and it's very sanitary, blah, blah, blah. And essentially what it is, it's kind of like going and getting a massage, but you don't have to take your clothes off. You don't have to expose yourself at that level. Or like going to the chiropractor, but you don't have to worry about getting cracked and popped and all those things. So I figured, man, this is pretty cool. So I started looking more and more into it. I had a couple of friends research it, and they said, dude, there's a couple of franchises coming into Tucson already, and one of them is about to open up like their second or third location, or they're asking for permits or something. I don't know how they figure that out, but the guy did the research, and he said, so if you want to do that, you got to jump on it like yesterday. This is the time. And he said, the only challenge is you need a location. And I said, well, I have my clinic, dude, where I used to do my chiropractic work. And he said, yeah, but you're going to need the equipment. I said, I have all my treatment tables, so we're good. And he said, well, wait a minute, what about the training? I said, dude, you know, I've trained other people to do this. And so it was just a matter of refining. Of course, I had to go and get some specific certifications on specifically stretch therapy, but that worked out well. And so that's how stretch therapy came about in general and specifically for me. And now, again, it's kind of cool, but it sucks sometimes. A lot of opposing viewpoints this morning, but it's so popular now that according to the Reader's Choice, we were like one of only, well, again, I think it's like Stretch Med, Stretch Zone, Stretch Lab, and Mueve Flex.
Okay.
Those were us, a few years ago, 2-3 years ago. This year, there's like, I think like 8 or 11 different stretch clinics.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So which is freaking cool, but
there's a lot more competition out there now.
We didn't get nominated for the Reader's Choice this year because there was like 10 others. So I'm a little bit bummed out about that, but I'm happy because people are starting to recognize the value of stretch therapy.
Right.
And so it's awesome.
That's funny because, like, back in the 90s, like when I used to play ball, like when I was in college, the trainers, it's like we'd go in there too. Like, you had like the whirlpool, but also some you get on that bed too and they're stretching the heck out of you. And you're like, oh my God. And then, your back cracks or something like that, And so, like, when you started, I was like, and then we were doing it, I was like, I remember this. It's the same thing I remember back then, but I don't know. It's pretty cool. I like it.
I love that you remember that too, though, because it's exactly right. I mean, and again, when you were playing, college ball and you're playing, football on a regular basis, you realize how important it is. You're putting your body through a lot of hard work, and the other thing that I found is that even with like what I call them desk jockeys or office warriors, you still get tens. You still get all,
You do, and a lot of people are like hunched over or their neck is, extended and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so there's a need for that correction. And that's what stretch therapy does. And I love it. Yeah. And I love that you remember that because that's Stretch Zone, one of the main pioneers in stretch therapy. That's how the dude started. He would go to, like, in Florida, he would go to like the college football teams. He would go to the different organizations, and he started with like straps, which is, I wonder if he would have blown up quicker if he would have done it different. But he basically would like strap people down, like with like a seatbelt type strap.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so then now you're like, you can't move on the table, and he would like lift up your leg, which again, it's awesome. It's really cool. Unless you're claustrophobic or unless you have like PTSD.
Yeah.
But again, it's a situation where football players really, really need it. They're hard on their bodies, and it's very effective.
Yeah. Well, you see, all the athletes, all the different sports, there's collisions. There's collisions, especially in football, but also soccer, baseball, different things. You're sliding and you're running into people and different collisions. And
well, and that's the thing is, like, what do they say? A body in motion stays in motion. Like, we get older and we don't really, like, right now I'm doing a lot of stretching. I have a weight set at my house, a really nice setup. But, I've kind of also realized, like, man, I need to start stretch. So I do that, like, in the morning when I wake up, and then before I go to bed, and then like sometime throughout the day. Yeah. But it is helping me out a lot too, because I'm getting to that point where I'm like that on a computer all the time, and I hate that because even my vision, I have to read these these dang readers and stuff, right? But
you're showing your age.
Oh God, and it's like, you think about it too, like, you guys ride bikes. I see you guys ride bikes all the time. And I told you, I used to love riding my bike like everywhere, And now it's like, I still have a bike. I have a road bike, Okay. And I haven't rode on it since last year, I think.
But why? Why don't you ride anymore?
I think because I got more into the lifting and also doing kind of like the plyometrics workouts. I kind of recently did my backyard, and so I started doing backyard workouts. Yeah. Kind of like the insanity workouts, and it's a challenge, right? I mean, it is different, and I've learned, like, when I was growing up, it was always all about, lifting and like lifting heavy, get bigger, stronger, faster, whatever, right? And then as I gotten older, it's just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do stuff for repetitions, Right. And but when I started doing those insanity workouts, it like mentally, it's a struggle. And then when I'm done, it's just like I feel so much more accomplished because you can lift all you want and everything, right? And then you get like, like my elbow is kind of messed up, right? Or my knee or something like that. But when I do those workouts, it's like your body starts adapting to, just the trauma, right? And then, it's like I feel so much lighter, you know what I mean? But the biggest thing is doing the stretching, that's key, man, especially as we get older. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, and one of the things that I always like to tell people is, you can only do so much on your own to yourself.
Yeah.
The assisted stretch is like it's like a key. You just take that key and you unlock everything else. Because yes, I don't want you to stop doing the stretches at home. Do the plyometrics. The insanity workouts are friggin' awesome. I love those too. But it's important. It's kind of like saying, well, yeah, whatever. I take my truck on the highway and just, rev the engine every once in a while. But, you need to make sure that you do that maintenance to that truck too. You need to get the realigned. You need to get the air pressure checked. You need to get the oil changed, things like that.
Well, with assisted stretching, you're just taking it a little bit beyond what we could do ourselves, right? Because you're putting a little pressure on us.
Oh man, I love that question because it's so. So here's what we do with the assisted stretch therapy. You have a person who's been trained on the actual ranges of motion and that has experience on how far more you should go. Because, like, for example, let's say if my elbow is supposed to bend only 90 degrees from here to here, and I have an injury or I've been lifting and my elbow's messed up, and some person says, oh, it's supposed to go to 90, and they just take it to 90. No, that's not okay.
Right.
Vice versa, if it's only supposed to go to a certain level according to the statistics, but I'm hypermobile or I've been very, very flexible, then I want to go beyond that level. You see? So the key is targeting those areas based on what's happening. I'll give you another example where like people have no clue. Kind of like, let's say with real estate or with heating and cooling and plumbing or with podcasts. There's a few things that, you say, well, you know what? That Binzer says that the whatever seller disclosure, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, huh? Okay, well, take care of me, please. When I buy that property, I want to make sure that my investment is well, taken care of. Same thing with you.
Sure.
If I tell you, look, just freaking put some of that duct tape on that leak under my sink and just, leave it alone. I just don't want to have that thing wet. You're going to be like, dude, there's other things that we can do. There's a system for everything. Or if I tell you, I want an island in my kitchen, and you're like, well, dude, we need a vent.
Right.
And again, and then maybe you'll say, well, you need one of those Chicago loops or whatever the heck you guys do. There's expert things. Same thing happens with us. For example, I've had people that have rough headaches, really, really bad headaches. And we check everything's moving well, but their ankle is off. Like they're stepping wrong, their arch is dropped, or they're inverting their ankle. And we ask him, what happened? Oh, I used to play basketball. I heard it a long time ago, and I just kind of got used to it. I just, it's off, but I got used to it. We start stretching and strengthening that area. The headache goes away.
That's funny you say that because, like, I got to go see you.
You just picked up a customer.
No, because I went to him one time, and I had a bad problem with my hips because I had plantar fasciitis for a while. And man, let me tell you, you have that, and your world is just like horrible.
Yeah,
right?
You can't step, you can't walk.
And I didn't know what it was. When I was working corrections, right? You're walking on concrete all day,
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine, he's like, you have plantar fasciitis. And I'm like, what the heck is that, And so I looked it up, and I dealt with the pain for about 2 years, But it threw me off so much. I mean, it messes you up mentally, physically, all that stuff. And so I think because of that, like my hip was so like out of whack, you know. And I've been to chiropractors and stuff before too, but I went to him one time, and he did this thing where he elevated my hip and then he just stretched out, and it was like instant, like I left, and it's just like all that pain went away. And so like now I'm feeling it again because I bought a new mattress, and it's a little bit more firm. But I need to kind of
we'll
get
you
done
in,
on
no
it.
problem. Yeah,
Okay.
no, but and it's those kind of things, that like people don't realize. Or another thing that I always tell people, like there's a guy, actually you and I know him. He goes to network with us. He flies kites and stuff.
Okay.
And I told him we're stretching. It's like my sciatica, whatever. And he's like, why in the hell are you working on my shoulder? If I told you it's my sciatica. And I explained to him, I said, look, what happens is every time as you take a step, you walk, that shoulder has to move back for that hip to move forward. You know, and vice versa. And it's kind of like when we're running, like when you see a superhero running or whatever, or the Heisman, you know, he's like this, that hip is forward, that shoulder is back. Yeah. You know, and so we're stretching on that shoulder, and he gets up. He's like, "Oh wow!" And a lady was there, and it was awesome. I wish I would have like planned it like this. The lady was like looking at us like, "Oh my gosh, you're walking straight now."
Oh wow!
Yeah. But again, and all we did is work on the freaking shoulder. So again, it's the opposite shoulder to the opposite hip. It's not the same hip to the same shoulder. It's the opposite. But again, those are the targeted areas that we do. So it's not that we just stretch a little bit past what you can do. Sometimes we do a lot. And sometimes we have you push back against it. Sometimes we just, like we did on Ron, we elevate, we either put like a wedge or a cushion or something, or put a bolster or a foam roller underneath your ankles to let the body acclimate and just kind of relax. Once you relax, then we get to work. Because again, and I think I told you the story, I always like to tell the story about the massage therapist that came in and she was angry. She was like grumpy. And she said, yeah, well, I know what's wrong, and I know you're going to fix it. And I said, well, what's the matter then? Why are you mad? She said, it's my left shoulder, and it's, messing with me, and but I knew I was stuck, and it's the teres muscle, and I, worked it out, and I stretched it. I'm like, so what's the problem? She's like, well, now I messed up my right shoulder. Fixing it. So it's you need to just have a relaxed moment where you reset. Kind of like what we do with our phones or the computers. You need to like Control Alt Delete, reset it, and go back. Yeah. And that's it. And that's what we do. So yes, we take you past the normal range of motion, but other times, if the range of motion is perfect, but the strength is not good, we have you kind of resist, push against us to kind of stimulate the brain to remember that that's turned on, because that's another thing that happens when something is injured, your body shuts it off. Like if we're hungry, we'll get hunger pains for a while, but after a while, you like forget that you forget that you didn't even eat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so that's a very, very good protective mechanism that your brain has, so you're not always bothered. But when it shuts off, let's say a hip or a shoulder, now you're not moving it right. And the less you move it, muscles atrophy, things get stiff. And that's why we got to make sure we reconnect. We make you kind of flex, contract, push against us. And that's what we do.
And then does the stretching help with blood flow?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Circulation. We have one client that came specifically because his doctor said, look, you know what? You got, circulation is bad. Your legs are not, perfusing properly. You're not bringing your circulation back. And he said, we might have to put you on some medication. And this guy's like an anti-medication type of person. Yeah. So literally, that's the main reason why he came in. And now he's awesome. He feels great. Now he's like talking about lifting weights too. It's kind of cool. Yeah. He's an older gentleman, but that's what I'm saying. It's impressive that he's lifting weights. Right. But yeah, awesome. He came specifically because his doctor said that he had poor circulation in his legs. We did the stretch therapy. And when we do the stretch at Mueve Flex, we literally work from your head to your feet. And we don't just work on, it's your elbow, let's do your elbow. Oh, it's your knee. So because of that, it makes sense that if there's a tense muscle or a spasm, blood is not going to be able to pump through there as easily. So once we relax everything and we get the body moving, then circulation improves a lot. And yes, there's a few very, very proven scientific benefits with stretch therapy. One of them is improved range of motion. You're going to be able to turn, move a lot easier. There's decreased injury likelihood. You're going to be more flexible, more agile, easier to prevent any falls or slips. Yeah. And then there's a decrease in pain because of endorphins and enkephalins, the hormones that take away pain. And lastly, there's an improved recovery because the circulation improved, because you're less likely to get hurt, because you're moving better. Then if there's an injury, it improves a lot faster.
Also, isn't it like when you stretch, right? You're more flexible. You also sleep better. It has an effect on that too,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely, man. This is awesome. I love that you guys are aware. And the way that it's been researched, they say that like a 15-minute stretch session is as like, you get as much rest or like as relieving as getting like 2 to 3 hours of sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, some people, when they're having like a rough schedule, like the people that work at the mine that come see me, I think they call it the DuPont schedule. I'm not sure what it is, but they work like really crazy hours. Like they work two 12s, and then I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's really interesting, but it messes with their circadian rhythms. That they're like don't have enough energy. When it's time to sleep, they don't sleep. So usually after they do those long shifts, they come in. We do that nice extended stretch session. They go home, rest, and then they're back at it again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So but it is very effective. It's like it helps you sleep better, and it is like if you went and slept, because the only way that your muscles relax at that level is when you're like in REM. Sleep waves, brain waves.
Yeah, because I notice like at nighttime. Like I'll do my stretches, right? Like I actually do it on my bed, and I'll try to do like just things that like I've learned and stuff. Even like trying to do like one of the things you did with my hips, but I can't do it all the way. You know what I mean? And and I'm like trying to think, how did he do that? You know? But I'll stretch, and I mean I do like a complete body stretch, like. This is kind of funny. When I was in high school, man, I mean, you guys used to watch all those karate flicks, right?
Sure.
Like the Van Damme movies. Remember when he was on the chairs with his doing that? Well, when I was in high school, me and Mike Lopez.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we used
to big old Mike.
we used to watch John-Claude Van Damme movies, right? Bloodsport, and I could do the splits. When I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
That's how flexible I was, So like now, like I'm trying to do it like on my bed. There's no freaking way, right? But I'm like, I'm going to get there. One of these, I'm going to get there, because I know like when I'm just real loose and limber, I mean, I feel freaking good,
Yeah.
And then at night, I mean, I do sleep a lot better, I mean, as you get older, it's hard to sleep.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with like our phones, obviously, blue screens, whatever. But it's like you turn your phone off. Like now what I'm doing is I'm putting my phone in the bathroom, right? Because I don't get it. I don't want it by my bed. Because I know if I hear a buzz or something like that,
you're gonna check it.
I'm gonna check it. So I just put it in there. I'm done once I get in bed, and I'll put on the TV or something like that, watch a movie or something like that, and I don't worry about it. So that also helps, man. So.
That's good. So both of you guys, we got about 1 minute each for you guys. Tell us how people can reach you, Ronnie.
Well, you can reach me. I mean, give me a call, 520-780-8454. I answer my phone. Okay.
Unless it's late at night.
But I mean,
unless the phone's in the bathroom.
Yeah. But I mean, you could reach me at that number. My office is right off of 1360 West Irvington Road, Suite 260, off I-19 and Irvington. Pretty easy to find.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is that? Is that where the Texas Roadhouse?
No, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, okay.
That parking lot, just go all the way to the back.
Cool.
Only 2-story building right there.
All right. And you can help first-time home buyers or people that are veterans.
Yeah, veterans, investors, first-time home buyers.
People downsizing.
Downsizing. You want to sell your house. I'll kind of walk you through the steps because, sometimes when people buy houses, it might have been like, 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Sure.
Right? But it's always nice to have a little refresher. So.
Very good. Very good.
Cool. Awesome. And you guys can find me on the internet at TikTok, social media, Instagram, Facebook at Mueve Flex. It's MUEVE, Mueve, and then Flex, like Ronnie's flexing on us right now. And my phone number is really easy too, 520-377-BACK, BACK, 377-2225. And we help people feel better and move better with stretch therapy.
Fantastic. All right. Well, this has been another episode of Southwest Flavor. This was a special Tucson High Badger episode. Like I said before, join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m., and we will see you next week.